But that will do it for the New Zealand Builder Nation here on Sean Does FM. So until the next time I see you, keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers. And cut off. Thank God that's over. Like, seriously. Kashmir Tech, Club World Cup champs, tick, all whites. Got them up to 11th in the world, but now I'm just completely out of energy. I just need a big old rest here because, man, I'm just done with football management at this point. I just need a couple of months off until like March or something. Then I should be fine. What? Who's this? I suppose it's rude to ignore it, right? Hello, Sean speaking.
Sean, it's me, the Jurgen Klopp. Listen, I've heard about your adventures with Kashmir Technical and New Zealand. Club World Cup winner. All whites up to 11th in the world. Incredible. But now, Sean, I need you.
Look, Jurgen, I don't know if you've heard, but look, I'm actually like really out of energy. I've just spent years managing Kashmir Tech, and let's not even talk about dragging the All Whites up the world rankings. Look, I've had my fill of footy management, mate. I'm out of energy. I'm done.
Oh, no. But hear me out. I've just taken on this role, global head of football for Red Bull. Leipzig, Salzburg, New York, Bragantino, Omiya Ardija. It's massive, Sean. Bigger than anything you've done before. And I need you. You're my hitman, my manager on the ground. And we're starting in Japan, at Omiya Ardija.
Omiya Ardija, in Japan. Really, Jurgen, after everything I've done, you want me to start at the bottom of the Red Bull pyramid? Like, come on. I'm exhausted, I'm out of energy, and I can't be running around Japan yelling at 18-year-olds to press harder.
Come on, Sean. It's not like you're going in alone. We've got Red Bull behind you. This isn't Kashmir Technical anymore. We've got the resources, the network. You'll be sipping Red Bull in your luxury apartment, setting up high-pressing football and a J-League. You just focus on winning titles and finding next big talents.
I mean, I do like that stuff, Jurgen, but Japan, like, what's in it for me?
Money.
Yeah, I mean, obviously money. That's how they probably got you. Like, is it a lot of money?
So much money.
Okay, but like, if I have morals, like, I mean, if I do, like, why would I start from scratch again?
Sean, this is your chance to leave your mark on every continent. From Japan to Germany. Omiya Ardija isn't just another club, it's the start of something bigger. You dominate in Japan, then we storm the US with New York, take over Brazil with Bragantino, and eventually, Leipzig. Bundesliga. Champions League. But it all starts with you in Japan. I need your energy, Sean. One last journey. What do you say?
One last journey. Building an empire from Japan to Europe. Oh, all right, Jurgen, you've got me. I'm in. Let's start by making Omiya Ardija the kings of Japan.
Yes, I know it. Pack your bags, Sean. Red Bull has your accommodation all sorted. High-end living, quick trip to Tokyo when you need it, and the best facilities Japan can offer. Just remember, we're playing my football, high press, fast transitions. Get the job done in Japan, and then we'll move on. Welcome to the Red Bull family.
No worries, Jurgen. I'll let you know when I get to Japan, okay?
Speak soon.
All right, Jurgen. Talk soon. How did that happen? Hello everyone and welcome to the first episode of a new series here on FM24 on the channel Red Bull KloppBot, where we are going to have to make our way up through the Red Bull football group and try and get all their teams to a strong position in each of the leagues, depending on what Jurgen KloppBot does think, and we'll get to why we're calling him that shortly. But yeah, could be an interesting save this one, and as you would have seen through the intro, we are going to be starting it off over in Japan. Get some J-League action, seeing as that is a new league in FM24, even though that was quite a while ago now when the game did come out. But if you're looking forward to a new series on the channel, do make sure to go down below and leave a thumbs up on the video. And also, if this sounds like a bit of you, also make sure to hit that subscribe button, turn that notification bell on as well, so you don't miss out on any of the new episodes. They'll be coming out week daily. This week, though, a bit of a short one, with yesterday being a public holiday here in New Zealand. But here's our manager that we have set up, technically not the same manager that we used in our last save, the New Zealand Builder Nation, but we've done something here which should see us be solid in the league where we're going to be starting off with over in Japan with Omiya Ardija. A bit of a silent U there, if you're wondering. I have checked that on Wikipedia. I'll try not to forget that during the course of our time there. But here's our manager it's KloppBot's puppet. It seemed quite appropriate considering this is a save where we are going to have to listen to as much as Jurgen Klopp tells us to do, albeit in this updated save file, because it has got all the transfers going into the start of the 2024-25 season, Jurgen Klopp having left Liverpool, actually not in the game. So instead of having him as a director of football, which to be fair, probably was a bit of a stretch anyway, going to a club over outside the top tier in Japan, instead of that, we are going to be using a Jurgen KloppBot. And here's Jurgen KloppBot say hello to this version that I have set up over on ChatGPT. We are listening to Jurgen KloppBot, the global head of football over at Red Bull. So that's how this is going to work. Kind of a DOF save, but with a little bit of a twist. He'll be doing all our tactics, advising us on all our signings, and we'll see how that goes. But going back over into Football Manager, and we did first ask him off the back of letting him know which clubs that he was in charge of. It's the 5 clubs that Red Bull have majority ownership of in real life. So no Leeds United, also no Paris FC, because even though it sounds like Red Bull are about to get stuck into that team, I read an article which said it's only going to be a minority share. So it's just the 5 teams that they currently own in real life. And before we get stuck into the save, as you can see, we are on the 1st of January 2024, which with the transfer update actually works out in game as January 2025, which is of course the date that Jurgen Klopp is taking over as the global head of football at Red Bull. And for the first season anyway, we're going to avoid Europe because they're still playing with the old Champions League and Europa League, Conference League formats. So that I thought was a good idea to avoid them in this first season. But a quick look at how each of the clubs are getting on, because we did let the KloppBot know about that before he decided which club we should start out at. So we're going to look quickly at how each of the Red Bull clubs are doing at this point of the save. Starting off with the headline club, of course, RB Leipzig. Thankfully got some merch here over in New Zealand. It's the only thing I could get hold of, even though just over a year ago we actually did a save trying to take this team down. That could be awkward if we make our way there. And to be fair, if we didn't ban the KloppBot from Europe for the first season, he might have seen us here, because when we look at how these guys are getting on in the Bundesliga, they're all the way down in 9th. To be fair, they're not too far outside of the European qualifying spots, but still, they've got teams like Werder Bremen, Augsburg, Union Berlin, Bochum above them. That's not too great. To be fair, not as bad as Bayer Leverkusen. They're having an absolute shocker currently in a relegation playoff position, but still, that's not too good. The first half of the season here from RB Leipzig. A quick look too at the transfer history, so you can see that indeed this was updated. The likes of Dani Olmo these days are at Barcelona, so it is an updated transfer database that we are using. But yeah, RB Leipzig actually not doing too well, so they could be a club actually end up at early if this continues. 9th in the Bundesliga, didn't even qualify from their group. Girona beat them in Group G, and they are about to make their way into the knockout playoff first round of the Europa League against Club Brugge. So in terms of the flagship club here in the Red Bull group, they're not doing too well currently. Now we'll look at the team in real life who are actually struggling under one of Jurgen Klopp's former assistants in Pep Linders in Salzburg. And unlike real life, these guys are actually going a lot better. They are top of the Austrian Bundesliga, and they are clear by 7 points. These guys are doing a lot better than they are in real life. Pep Linders must be a much better manager here in FM than in real life. But going back and having a look at the competitions that the club are still involved in, because I'm pretty sure these guys actually did start off in the Champions League as well. They got knocked out in the 3rd qualifying round by FC Lugano, so not too good a result for those guys there, but they did drop down into the Europa League group stages and top their group, beating teams like Athletic Bilbao and Lazio. So that's quite interesting there. They have already made their way through a round further than RB Leipzig are guaranteed to be going. So there could be a bit of a clash there between the Red Bull clubs in the Europa League this season. Also good to see that Stefan Bajetic is doing quite well there for his former assistant manager at RB Salzburg. But that's how Salzburg are getting on. But of course, with Jurgen Klopp starting off in January, did make sense, I thought, to start off with one of the clubs whose seasons run through a calendar year. Next up, we're going to look at Brazil and Bragantino, who it's fair to say are a little bit of a mid-table team over there in the Brazilian Serie A currently. They finished 10th this past season after being predicted to finish in 14th. I think they've still actually got some continental football for next season off the back of that 10th place finish over there in the Brazilian League. If we make our way there, there's going to be all sorts of stuff we have to learn about that, because I'm pretty sure there's all sorts of stages. And look at the amount of teams that qualify for continental competitions. It looks like this year they're going to be involved in the Copa Total Sudamerica, so that's for the Europa League of South American football. But that is the situation with Bragantino. Next up down the pecking order, we've got the New York Red Bulls in the MLS. And here they are, the team in the Eastern Conference of the MLS, still with Emil Forsberg there as their captain. This is another league, if we go to the rules, could make things super interesting with Jurgen KloppBot in charge. But have a look at how they got on in the MLS last season. Let's just go back and see the past winners and whatnot of the MLS Cup. It's been a fair while since their name's been anywhere near it. Back in 2008, that's when they were the runners-up to the Columbus Crew. Since then, been a big old dry spell for the New York Red Bulls. In terms of the Eastern Conference last year, let's see where they finished. And they were in 8th, which I think means that they went through to a wild card game in the playoffs. Indeed, that is what happened. And they got beaten by Nashville on penalty. So they did next to nothing in the postseason there of the MLS. Just a quick look as well at what happened in the Supporters' Shield. And they were down in 16th into Miami with Messi and co. absolutely running away with that, as was the case in real life. So the New York Red Bulls not doing too well over there in the MLS. We'll just see what the season preview does look like for this upcoming season. And they're all the way down in 25th. My face cam might be blocking it. That's how far down they are. 450 to 1. Those are the odds. That's actually a team who are really struggling. And to be fair, if we have a look at the conversation I had with Jurgen Klopp, what you'll see that after I let him know all the details of each club that he is going to be in charge in and the situation, you can see there, I just typed in what I've been running you guys through over the last couple of minutes here on camera. I asked him, where would you like me to start off? He did opt for one of the 3 teams who do play seasons over a calendar year. He actually recommended the New York Red Bulls, but I actually had a different idea. I thought we should work our way up the Red Bull pyramid, and that would start with a team who are in the J2 League, who Red Bull only recently purchased back in August of real life, and that is Omiya Ardija. There's a silent U, as I said. I'm going to try and keep that one consistent throughout the course of the save. So I did somewhat veto there, the KloppBot. So actually going to be starting the save off over in Japan. And here's a quick look at the club before we get stuck into things throughout the remainder of today's episode. Only 2-star reputation. Now, in-game, despite the fact that they're actually in the J3 in real life, they actually start off in J2. And considering what's happening in real life with how they're doing in the J3, I think we just roll with that, because in the save, they actually did stay in the league off the back of this past season. You'll see there that's a playoff to get up to J1. So Tokyo Verdy there just get done there by Jubilo Iwata. But you can see this was a team in the save who finished 11th in the J2 in 2024. Albeit if we have a look at what's actually happening in real life, this is the current situation with only a few games left in the season. As you can see, they've pretty much already guaranteed promotion up from J3 where they are currently for 2024. So I don't feel like if they just held their spot there in J2 in game, that works out quite well, because really they're a dead set lock to be promoted up to J2 for 2025, where the save does start when Jurgen Klopp does take over as the global head of football. Also, down in J3, actually have lucked out a little bit and had Imabari win the J3, so they're going to get promoted as well. So it looks like it's going to be pretty accurate for the teams who should be in J3 going up to J2, going into the start of the 2025 season. The other team who have made their way up there in our save is Azul Claro Numazu, who are a little bit lucky, but to be fair, with the current situation in real life, they could actually win that promotion playoff. So I don't think I've done too badly here in simming things, and we've got pretty close to an accurate promotion relegation situation going to the start of the save in the J League in 2025. We'll just pop back over into FM. You can see what I'm talking about down in the J3 League. Let's just go back over here to the league table. Imabari, they were champions. Azul Claro Namazu, they also got promoted. For some reason, only 2 teams going up and down here in the save, but to be fair, it kind of works with what's happening in real life with Omiya Ardija being up in J2 already. And this is going to be where we start things off. So let me just make sure that I'm going to be in charge here of this club with KloppBot's puppet. And here we go, confirmation that we are now in Japan with Omiya Ardija in the J2 League. The 34-year-old in KloppBot's puppet, absolutely inexperienced. To be fair, a little bit harsh on the previous manager, given that he's just got them promoted up to J2 in real life, if we're basing things on what's happening on that current league table. But to be fair, we might not have too bad a squad here for J2, even based on real life with absolutely walking near the J3. This could be quite a good squad to at least make sure, if not too many transfers, if that's what the KloppBot wants, that we could still have a nice solid year there in the J2 before maybe launching a bit further and getting this club up to J1. So then every club that Red Bull does majority own is up in the top division of their league. But there you can see the club history. They've won 4 trophies, 1 time each. The J2 league, they won that back in 2015. Also, they've won 3 other trophies. Just going to see what they are there. The Shakain Cup. Not too sure about my pronunciation of that one. Also, they won the Japanese National Regional League, which no doubt is a bit further down the pyramid here in Japan. And also, they've picked up a Kanto Senior Soccer Tournament. I've got no idea what that is, but hopefully we can get this club up to J1 and then things could be a bit more interesting. We could be moving around the Red Bull clubs a little bit more openly if some of them are really struggling, like you saw earlier with RB Leipzig. Also, they haven't been rebranded yet in terms of being a Red Bull club. Of course, they were only bought in August in real life, and their nickname is the Red Squirrels. So a bit interesting that Red Bull do own a club that are the Red Squirrels. In terms of their fierce rivals, that's the Urawa Red Diamonds up in J1. So until we get up there, not much chance of a local derby for us in the safe. But going forward in there is our current best 11 here at Omiya Ardija. Looks like they're going to be playing a 4-4-2. We'll need to check on the foreign rules and what that's looking like in terms of our squad here, because I'm pretty sure it is quite tight, especially goalkeeping wise. So hopefully we're not too bad off there. Kasahara does look like he might be quite decent though. And there's the club vision, but to be fair, we're just ignoring all of that because all we care about is keeping the KloppBot happy. And let's just go forward. I'll skip this stuff, I can sort it out later. And happy days, we are now the manager of Omiya Ardija. So I'm just going to go forward here, ask Jurgen what tactics he wants me to implement with the squad. And also, I'm going to need to actually let him know about this squad. And we've got some player contracts expiring at the end of the month. Which of these players does Jurgen want us to keep? Also, I'll go check out the rules and we'll come back and see what we should be doing in our first transfer window. And I've gone for about 3 weeks there off the back of our first day in charge at Omiya Ardija. And you can see here through ChatGPT, I've let you know we're in Saitama, the home city of our new club. And I've given them here a little bit of an evaluation of the squad. Now, at this point, I wasn't actually paying for ChatGPT, could only upload 2 photos a day, but now I'm actually doing that because that's just going to make this really annoying if I have to type all this stuff out. But you can see I've given Jurgen a pretty good rundown here of our squad in terms of in-game. You can see there, starting off with our first choice goalkeeper at that point into Takashi Kasahara, 4.5-star ability and potential, 36 years old. His position, his best role, and his transfer value for him, it was unknown, but you can see below that for Shimura, we've let him know it was 90k to 250k. We've done that for every single player we had here at Omiya Ardija, because we are about to get stuck in with our first transfer window at the club. And also let him know as we go down a bit further about the players whose contracts were going to expire going into the start of the new season. Some of those players being quite good, and Ancelotti, one of our foreign players, and he was one of the players who was actually keen on exploring his options. We did ask Klopp what he wanted us to do as well as what tactics he wanted us to use here at Omiya Ardija. So first up, he's come up with 3 tactics. Now, unsurprisingly, being Jurgen Klopp, he quite likes a gegenpress. This is our first tactic. It's a 4-2-3-1, albeit he's got a defensive midfielder alongside a box-to-box midfielder. So in terms of how it looks like in game, it's a little bit more of a 4-1-1-3-1, but still it's a pretty solid tactic on FM, something that's close to what I've been using for most of this year in our past Save the New Zealand Builder Nation. According to Jurgen, that is pretty close to our first choice 11. That's who he wants to be playing in each of those roles, albeit I did actually shuffle it around when I had a bit of a deeper look at the squad and did some stuff in the squad planner. He did originally want Fabian Gonzalez playing as a central attacking midfielder and Ancelotti on the right. But anyway, that's our first tactic that Jurgen has cooked up for us. Next up, what he was after was a vertical tiki-taka 4-3-3, another formation I don't mind. So that is one that we've just loaded up. Same with the gegenpress as well. No specific player instructions just yet, just the basic tactic in the game, but with the roles that Jurgen has given us. And the third tactic is fluid counter-attack, a 4-4-2. And to be fair, considering how many strikers we've actually got here at Omiya Ardija, that might not be the worst idea, a 4-4-2. We'll go over and have a look at these other 2 tactics. There's the vertical tiki-taka. Obviously, Gonzalez wouldn't be a midfielder, but you get the drift. And then there's the 4-4-2. We've actually got quite a few strikers here currently at the club, so a 4-4-2 might not be the worst idea, albeit we do still have a transfer window to get through. So those are the tactics that Jurgen has cooked up in terms of the one he prefers, obviously, being Jurgen Klopp. It is a 4-2-3-1, just with that little change there with a box-to-box midfielder alongside the defensive midfielder, which does mean it's a little bit of an asymmetric one ever so slightly. But going back over to ChatGPT, and you'll see the players that he recommended that we don't extend contracts off. So going down here past that best 11 and contract renewals, he wanted us to renew the contracts of Nakano. To be fair, I'm pretty sure he was already here for longer than this year. But Ancelotti and Ohashi were players that he did want us to renew the contract. So thankfully, we were able to do that. So Ancelotti, even though his contract was expiring and previously he'd let the club know he'd be exploring his options, thankfully, we've now got him to stay here at the club for a little bit longer. He'll be here until the end of 2026, and that's quite good as well, because he's a pretty decent foreign player for us who will be a left winger, as you'll see once we make our way through a bit more of that ChatGPT conversation with the KloppBot. But Ancelotti, he's staying around. He has the potential to be a good J1 League player, so that is a good get for us. The other player that he did decide to keep hold of is our first choice defensive midfielder in Hisashi Ohashi. He's here until the end of next year. Decent J2 League player, but is unlikely to improve. But those are two quite key contract renewals that the KloppBot did recommend there, because they will be in our first choice 11 as it currently sits. But what that does mean is we've got quite a few players who are going to be running out of their contract here before we even get a chance to play with them. Those players are Keisuke Oyama, to be fair. He looks very average at 29 years old. Not too worried about that one. Might just mean need to sign an extra defensive midfielder going into this new season. Also quite handy that he's wanted by some clubs. Ryo Shinzato, he won't be here going to our first season. A 34-year-old centre-back with 3-star current ability and potential, leading J3. But I think the age might mean that the KloppBot does not want to keep him around. Also, Hiroki Kuramoto, he'll be leaving, quite similar to our previous defensive midfielder. 1.5-star current ability and potential, not really good enough quality for us here in the J2. Going down further, another pretty average player there in Jin Izumi Sawa. He won't be here going to our first season at the club. He looks quite happy about it too. But the big news is Jurgen doesn't want us to renew the contract of Kiichi Yajima, and he would be our second choice striker, which if we play a 4-4-2, you'd think would be quite handy. And he's also quite a tall lad as well at 1.87 meters. But Jurgen doesn't want us to renew his contract, so he is a big name departure going to our first season here in Japan. Hopefully that won't prove costly, but the KloppBot's spoken. We have to listen to it, so we are not renewing the contract of Kiichi Yajima going into our first full season here at the club. And also, one spot further down, Yutaro Hakamada is also leaving, yet another centre-back come left-back. So those are the players that the KloppBot has opted not to renew the contracts of. As I said, the striker is a bit of a surprise, but the rest of them, you can see why. Not too good current ability or potential, apart from Shinzato, and even then, he's 34 years old. So it does mean we might have quite a bit of room to do some stuff in this upcoming transfer window, especially because our transfer budget is £1.26 million, and our wage budget currently has 5.7k a week spare. But of course, with those players departing, that could jump up quite a bit. So that's what we've got to work with for our first transfer window, which we're going to get through in today's episode. We should be able to do quite a bit of it over with the KloppBot, hopefully not have to come over into the save too much and get through it quite quickly. But a quick look at who he's also recommended that we let go of, because there are a few more players he wants us to let go of who have wanted symbols over on our squad page. As you can see, quite a few of them there. It could actually be a busier transfer window than it looks if Jurgen does decide that bids come in for those players that do look quite good, especially someone like Kasahara. I know he's our first choice goalkeeper, but at 36 years old, could be a good time to bring in a young face here at the club going into my first season in charge. But of course, I think he's one of our key players and captains here, so that could be a little bit of a disruptor in terms of our dynamics. But lots of players here are wanted in terms of our squad plan, and we'll go over and have a look at what this looks like going to the start of the transfer window via ChatGPT. So I listed things out here for Jurgen where I thought the players were ranked in terms of each position, trying to keep players in just one position instead of covering a couple. You can see Kasahara number 1 goalkeeper, Shimura number 2, and Wakabayashi number 3. We've got lots of right back options, albeit number 2 and 3 are both transfer listed in Ida and Okinawa. So I definitely think going to need to sign a right back in our first window. Centre back, 3 centre backs really would like an extra one. To be fair, Matigi he can cover centre back. So maybe we go looking for 2 right backs or sign an extra right back to go alongside him as well as another centre back. Definitely need an extra left back because we've only got Suzuki, defensive midfielder okay there, and box-to-box midfielder okay there as well. Right winger, only got Gonzalez, and need someone in behind there, one of our star imports, and he's actually 32 years old, so probably someone quite young who can overtake him once we decide to let go of him. Attacking midfielder, we've got Kurikawa, but Tomiyama can play there and would be our 4th choice striker, but probably someone that we want to let go of if he's that far down the pecking order and also at 34 years old. Left wing, Anholi and Yamazaki, not too bad off there. And we've got lots of options up front, albeit with that contract situation with Yajima, does look like it'll only be 2 if we also get rid of Tomiyama. But if we keep him, we can move him back there and sign a central attacking midfielder. So it did mean that the KloppBot, before going into this window, we should focus on right wing, left back, and centre back. And apart from that, maybe look for an extra striker as well if we can up the quality, given that Yajima will be leaving at the end of his contract. So that's what the KloppBot's recommended going to the start of this window. We'll see how things play out in terms of bids coming in, seeing as there's so many wanted symbols above their heads. Now, I think we'll come back before we play our first game and run you guys through what the KloppBot's done. So tomorrow, we can get stuck straight in to our first couple of games in charge. And we are back, having gone forward to our first game in charge here at Omiya Ardija, which will be coming up in tomorrow's episode, the first 2 games that we play here in the J2 over in Japan. And we have done a fair bit of business with the KloppBot here for this transfer window. I'll be totally honest with you guys. This is the 2nd time I've recorded this because yesterday I did a bunch of stuff with ChatGPT showing you guys the transfers and it dragged on for quite a while. So instead, we'll just stick to the FM screens for the most part. But you can see £1.1 million that we've spent, but we got just under that. So it's actually been not too big a spend, despite the fact we had a £1 million transfer budget that we could use. And we have let go of some quite notable players. We'll just get this sorted out here so it does work in chronological order. I think yesterday, though, I did show you guys this screen, which did have our squad depth going into the transfer window here at Omiya Ardija. Off the back of that, did get the KloppBot to make some decisions in terms of players who we should be letting go with the contracts expiring and also areas that we should be looking to improve. There were some scouting assignments, so I'm pretty sure we actually covered this off in the last bit that I did record. But going down a bit further, this is what we were sort of looking at in terms of showing the KloppBot before he made each of our transfer decisions. We won't show you guys all the times that we did this because that's what I did yesterday and it was a bit of a nightmare. But this was in terms of the goalkeeping options, local players. We're always looking for local players before we brought in foreigners because not too many foreign spots here in the J2 with only 4 already, having 3 at the club. These were 4 goalkeepers. We asked the KloppBot to check out and see which one we maybe should sign if a decent bid did come in for Kasahara at 36 years old, and this is what he did. Weighed up all the goalkeeping options there just based on what was showing on the shortlist. Later on, we did show him sometimes the actual player profile just to make sure it was a player that he did want compared to who we already had. But you can see there, recommended action, sign John Higashi in this situation and sell Kasahara if a good bid did come in for him. So that's pretty much how things worked during the course of this transfer window. Always asking the KloppBot what he did think. So we'll go back over into FM. We'll come back though, because we've got a little bit of a secret skill with our KloppBot that we'll be able to show you guys when transfers do come through. But first up, it was a sale, and it was of Kaiki. Now, this was a player we weren't actually going to let go of, but his contract was expiring at the end of the year. He wanted to explore his options, so we asked the KloppBot if we should look to offer him out in this current transfer window. He said yes, especially as it did open up an extra foreign spot in the team. So Kaiki is no longer here, and we got a fee of £400,000, which is pretty high on his transfer value when he was here at the club, considering it looks like they picked him up on a free. A bit hard to tell there with FM, but that's a good deal going to another J2 club in Vegalta Sendai. We'll just see where those guys are predicted to finish in 14th. To be fair, we were 17th before the transfer window. We'll show you guys where we are in the season preview at the end of all this that we're about to go through. But that is a move to a fellow J2 team, but obviously with his contract expiring and him wanting to explore his options, did seem like a good time to let go of Kaiki, especially because it does allow us to free up an extra foreign spot, and that was quite useful in this transfer window. Then going over to left-hand side, we did make our first signing. It was pretty much 4 before, but we did bring in a new goalkeeper in John Higashi. This was because Kasahara, 36 years old, the KloppBot did think if good bids came in for him, probably a good idea to let him go. So Hagashi comes in as a new first choice, good J2 League player, potential to be good in J1 and only 22 years old. He does look pretty decent formerly of Sagamihara, those guys, I think down in J3. Indeed, that was the case. Did concede a few amount of goals last season, but also did keep 13 clean sheets. He looks a pretty good first choice for us here these days at Omiya Ardija. Does mean got a nice young prospect now in goal instead of a 36-year-old. It does feel like a very Jurgen Klopp thing that. So Higashi, he did come in, and that was for a fee of £375,000. And going back over to ChatGPT, here's KloppBot's secret skill. He's actually a bit of a graphic designer for us here at Red Bull Football, not just the global head, but also graphic designer, seeing as Red Bull are probably paying him so much. So there is what he came up with for our first signing of this window. Don't worry, there's a lot more coming, and we did also let him know at some point this team nickname is the Red Squirrels. You'll probably notice when that does kick in later on in this transfer window. But next up, it was another signing. This one, Ivan Dimas. Now, this, to be fair, was a signing that we just completely got out of the blue from the KloppBot because we could not find any Japanese defensive midfielders who could do a job for us alongside another option that we were looking to bring in, which was already under transfer bid. This one actually happened quite quickly. Even Dimas, an Indonesian. Now, that actually counts as a local player, but he comes in from Persik Kediri, the man with 46 caps for that Indonesian national team. Decent J2 quality, unlikely to improve, but he is a pretty solid option who actually gets in over Abe as our first choice box-to-box midfielder for this current season. We spent £75,000 on him. Not too bad coming from the top league over there in Indonesia. That's someone who our scouts didn't find, but seeing as bids were coming in for other players and they got upset, we decided we'd ask the KloppBot, see if he knew someone, not Japanese, but who counted as a local player. And this is one of the options that he did come up with, who actually wanted to come here. So even Dimas, a completely KloppBot signing that one, we get him for £75,000, which based on his transfer value now, actually looks like quite a good bit of business. And there is what he came up with in terms of the graphics for that signing being announced on our socials. If I even do that on X, I'm not too sure about that. But anyway, there's the graphic that the KloppBot did come up with there for Dimas, the signing that he had a big hand in. Next up, we made a sale of Toshiki Ishikawa. He was at that stage, I believe, one of our best options in a midfield position. Might have even been the first choice box-to-box midfielder going into the season. So that's the reason that we did bring in Dimas. But bids came in for him, having 2-star current ability, 2-star potential, good for J3. It did feel like a player that would be a good idea to let go. So we sold him for £45,000 to FC Ryukyu, who are down in J3. Good bit of business there, getting rid of an older player with not much ability and potential. On the same day, we got our backup in for Fabian Gonzalez at right wing. This is one of the key areas we were looking at going into this transfer window, and thankfully found a pretty good player who was a local in Fuki Yamada from the Kyoto Sanga reserves he was playing for when we did make this move. 3-star current ability, which is decent for our league, but potential-wise, 4.5 stars, which it says is a leading J2 league player. I did think before that similar amount of potential was also a good J1 player with the signing of Higashi, but he looks like a ready-made replacement for Gonzalez when he does eventually leave us, being 32 years old and taking up a foreign spot that might not be in the too distant future. But he's a really good player, can also cover central attacking midfield and up front, and we got him for a fee of £325,000, so one of our biggest spends alongside Higashi in this transfer window. But let's see what he can do in J2, having finally left Kyoto Sanga. And again, there is the KloppBot's graphic work there for the signing of Fuki Yamada. Still haven't quite got him onto the fact that we are indeed the Red Squirrels. A few days later, got rid of a player who was transfer listed at right back. That was Takahiro Ida. He went off to Honda FC for a fee of £50,000, pretty similar to the previous sale that we made. A player with not much current ability, not much potential really, shouldn't have been in J2, should be down in J3, so he went to Honda. That was for a fee of £50,000. Next up, on the same day, actually a signing from our under-18s manager, which the KloppBot did approve on a free. Yoshiro Murano. He might pop up in the first team if we get some injury concerns at left or right winger in this upcoming season, but on a free, this looked like a great bit of business. 1.5-star current ability and 5-star potential, albeit only 4 of those stars are gold. He could be very useful long-term in the safes. A good work there from the KloppBot as well as our under-18s manager. The next day, we got rid of 2 players, Takamitsu Tomoyama for £26,000. He was that striker was 4th choice and 2nd choice in central attacking midfield again. Old player at 34 years old, KloppBot decided, let's move on the oldies with that 2-star current ability and potential. He went to a Hime FC, those guys, also down in J3 for £26,000, and also on that same day, did get rid of Kasahara, as we mentioned earlier with the signing of Higashi. KloppBot did think at 36 years old, decent bid for him, we should probably let him go, and he's gone to Yokohama FC for I think that was £80,000. He's actually still a pretty good goalkeeper at that age, but obviously Higashi's a lot younger and not much worse and does have a lot more potential. So I think that's the reason the KloppBot thought that was a good bit of business. Very good goalkeeper, quite tall as well, which might be quite useful in Japan, but he's gone up to J1 for that £80,000 fee. So we got rid of Kasahara as well as Tomoyama, 2 of the actual team leaders here at Omiya Ardija. Hopefully that won't upset the fellas too much, seeing as we've sold all of them going into this season. And we did on that same day make another transfer in. This was a first choice option in central attacking midfield, and it was a foreigner. We gave the KloppBot quite a few options in this position to have a look at, and this is the player that he decided would be the best for us in that advanced playmaker role that we are using. That's Juninho, 23 years old, from Brazil. 3.5-star current ability, good for J2, 4.5-star potential apparently. That's a leading J1 league player. He should be a real asset for us this upcoming season, a starter for us, get us going in terms of our attack, and we signed him on a pretty cheap fee as well of £20,000 out of Inter de Limera. And considering that transfer value now, again, that looks like quite a nice bit of business, and that does mean that's another foreign spot that replaces the one we previously had with Kaiki, because there were no central attacking midfielders that we could find locally who did fit the bill. So we've used one of our foreign spots there, but of course did get rid of one back when we did let go of Kaiki. Going forward to the 31st, a couple more sales on this day. Got rid of Shuto Okinawa for £17,500. He was another right back that we were looking to let go of with 1.5-star current ability, 2.5-star potential. He went for a fee of £17,500. Actually just noticed that Honda have actually done us quite a solid this window, getting 3 of our players down there to J3, because they also signed Masato Kojima for £120,000. This was actually one of our better options in defensive midfield going into this upcoming season, but he got a bit upset when we turned down a bid with that whole Dimas situation. That's the reason that we were looking at bringing Dimas in, because bids were coming in for this guy. We thought there weren't many options out there, so we turned them down, and it upset him. So that's the reason that eventually we did let him go. Thankfully, that Dimas signing did mean we got those numbers back up like we needed to for our squad this season. But 2-star current ability and potential at 28 years old. I think you can see there why we did let him go for that fee of £120,000, which to be fair was a bit over the £100,000 upper value that he did have when here at the club. And going back over to the signings, made a couple more on the 31st of January. Another one here from our under-18s manager. This is Junju Shia. He is a striker with 1.5-star current ability, again 5-star potential with 4 stars of that gold. Pretty good work there from our under-18s manager as well as the KloppBot. In terms of the first team, did bring in one more player before we made our way through into February. That was Wataru Tanaka coming in to replace Kojima. Originally was coming in as a box-to-box midfield option, but seeing as we eventually found Dimas there through the KloppBot, he comes in as a backup defensive midfielder in behind Otashi. He was transfer listed by his former club in Montevideo Yamagata for £110,000, so we did bring him in at 24 years old. He looks quite useful and can cover all 3 of those midfield positions that we do use, but we're going to want him as a defensive midfielder on support with 2-star current ability and 3.5-star potential. Should be a good player for us up until we make our way into J1 based on the potential that he does have. And here's the graphic that the KloppBot came up for with him. As you can see, we're starting to get now to the phase where he actually realises that we're nicknamed the Red Squirrels. And going back a bit further, here is the graphic he came up with for the signing of Juninho the day before in central attacking midfield. But going back over the transfer hub here on FM, and now we've got quite a few signings that we did make. Now, first up, a couple of frees when their contracts did expire at some other Japanese clubs. First up, Takuto Minami. He comes in as an extra left-back option in behind Suzuki, obviously. Only have one of those going in for this new season. This is the guy we've brought in to be the backup, 2.5-star current ability, 4-star potential on a free. That looks like a pretty good bit of business. He previously was at Guria Morioka down in J3, and the year before that was in J2, but had been on loan from the Yokohama F Marinos. So certainly has been at some decent clubs here in Japan. Hopefully be a good backup to Suzuki for this upcoming season, albeit Suzuki actually did get injured in our most recent preseason games. So this guy can actually be playing a bit of football for us in this upcoming season. Also coming in on a free was Tatsuya Tabira. This was the replacement for Kaiki from the same club on a free 3-star current ability, 4-star potential. Looks pretty similar in terms of current ability and potential to who we got rid of in Kaiki, but he's not a foreigner, so that was a nice bit of business from us there. Bring up a foreign spot to use in a different position, which we'll see shortly. But Tabira comes in on a free from the exact same club. And the last player that we did sign on a free once we ticked over into February was Kazuma Okamoto, who comes in as a right back option. He was formerly at, let me try this name, a J2 club called Vespakasatsu Gunma. Hopefully I've got that one right, but he also comes in on a free with 2.5-star current ability and 4-star potential, albeit only 3 of those are gold. Some good bit of business there from us, getting players in on a free whose contracts were expiring, especially in some of the positions where we did need some depth there at the back. And here are the graphics that the KloppBot came up with for those free signings that did come in. First up, Takuto Minami, the left back. That's what he's came up with there. It does kind of look like an away shirt, but not too sure about the fact he's got his name over the front instead of the actual club. Going down to our next one, these actually came in during the course of some previous signings that we made there. You can see that Yamada graphic again. Here's what he came up with though for Tatsuya Tabira, the centre back we brought in. He's got the club colours a bit better for this one. But yeah, again, some of the spelling's a bit interesting there from the KloppBot, and going down a bit further, and we should eventually get past the likes of Juninho, and soon enough, we will get to that last free signing that we made in Okamoto. This was when we didn't let him know about the Red Squirrel's nickname, which he's kind of tried to portray there on the shirt itself below the team name. Just needs to work on his spelling a bit more there, does the KloppBot. Those are the free transfers that we did make in February, and on that day, we did fill up our last foreign spot here at Omiya Ardija going into this new season with a right back. So what we did is switch Mategi, who previously we had listed as our first choice right back. We've changed him to going back to centre back, which really does look a more suitable position for him, and brought in Sebastian Figueiredo, who popped up quite late in our search for a foreign right back. Actually had a Brazilian underbid, but this guy did look a little bit better. The KloppBot agreed, so we went after him, formerly of Wanderers in his home nation of Uruguay. Bought him for £37,500. So again, quite cheap business from us there to get in a first choice right back with 3.5-star current ability. That's good for J2 and 4.5-star potential. So he definitely can feature for us in the future once we hopefully make our way up to the J1. So a bit of new blood there at right back with Figueiredo being first choice and Okamoto being the backup. And just before we do have a look at what else we did, here's the graphic that KloppBot came up with there for Figueiredo. Still not too sure what's going on there with the spelling of the name, but to be fair, that's one of the better Red Squirrel efforts I've seen from the KloppBot so far with his graphic design work. At least he's learning while he is on the job. Going back over to FM now on the 9th, this is when we made our next sale. Koshimura, our backup goalkeeper at 28 years old with 3.5-star current ability and potential, was pretty good as a backup in behind Higashi, but KloppBot thought that we probably could actually do better considering who was on that shortlist that we did see earlier, albeit going into our first game of the season, actually haven't found a replacement yet because a few of those players did turn us down in terms of joining us because some other clubs, they came in instead and they've opted to join them. So we're actually still in search of a potential second or third choice goalkeeper. Thankfully, still got Wakabayashi here at the club who does actually have a fair bit of potential, but Shimura's no longer here. He's also gone up to the J1 to Gamba Osaka for £140,000. Definitely a bit of a refresh at goalkeeper going into our first season here at Omiya Ardija, and coming in on the same day was a central attacking midfield option who was Japanese. We finally picked this guy up because it did take a fair while to find someone who could cover that position. To be fair, looks a little bit more of a right winger, but Riko Okiai, he comes in formerly of Kashiwa Reysol, 3-star current ability and 4-star potential, which is pretty good for J2. He'll be the backup and behind Juninho, and obviously can cover some other positions if needed, but he's a decent pickup for a fee of £140,000. With this being the graphic that the KloppBot came up with for him, not too sure again what's going on with the spelling there. Maybe that's slightly German, not too sure, but again, some solid Red Squirrel work there in the background, but that spelling needs a bit of work. To be fair though, this time actually got our team name right, so that's a plus there from the KloppBot, but that was our last first team signing that we did on a transfer fee. Off the back of that, have signed a few more players here, and Gustavo and Munison, these were two players who we did find for our under-19/reserves teams. Low current ability, but lots of potential from Brazil. Hopefully they'll become Japanese in the future. We can even loan them out and see if they develop. But definitely handy to keep around, considering under-21 players don't need to be registered in J2. Lots of potential for these guys. This one is a midfielder, so we'll train him as a box-to-box. And Munison, once we find him, he is a central defender who can also cover right back. So a couple of quite promising there Brazilians that we picked up, both for absolutely nothing. So good work there from our scouts finding those two for not much money. And a couple of days prior to our first game, our under-18s manager found another player with quite a bit of potential in Norihiko Matsumoto, 1.5-star current ability, 5-star potential left winger. So quite a few good young prospects that he's found now in that position. We brought him in also on a free. And last transfer that we have made going to the start of the season was an outgoing one at Sushi Kurakawa. He's departed the club. He was one of our options at right wing. I think actually might have previously been the first choice central attacking midfielder going in to this season with 2-star current ability and 3-star potential. KloppBot thought the bid from Vigalta Sundai was too good to turn down, and that was £100,000. That's all the transfers we have done going into this new season here at Omiya Ardija, our first one of the save. In terms of what that's done for our overall budget, not too bad. It has helped us out though in terms of actually we were supposed to be finishing this season, because previously we were predicted to be finishing in 17th. These days, predicted to finish 10th. So I think all that transfer work actually has helped us out. So in theory, quite good work there from the KloppBot going into this new season. What that does for our squad planner, so you can kind of see what we're looking at. Also, back to the transfer history, here's what's going on with our goalkeeper situation. Hopefully we'll get Umeda. If we don't know, we'll pick up Nishimura on a free. Umeda definitely looks the better option with 4-star current ability and potential to be the backup to Higashi. But if he turns us down, we can always go after Nishimura on a free with quite a bit of potential, quite similar to Wakabayashi and also Hayasaka, another player our under-18s managers found who does look like he has a decent amount of potential at 4 stars. But the squad planner for this new season, here's goalkeeper Higashi, first choice. Wakabayashi, the backup. Here's another look at him. Does have quite a bit of potential. Certainly not a bad option there as a backup if we don't get someone like Umeda in at right back. Now we've got Figueiredo, first choice, Okamoto in behind him. And of course, Munison can step up and do a job. Centre back, we've got Urakami as first choice. The bear in behind him, one of our new signings. Mategi third choice, Nuki fourth, and Munison can do a job if we need him to the young Brazilian. At left back, Suzuki still there as first choice, but Minami is in there as a backup. Not sure why Alvarado's there. That might be because currently he's here on trial, but no more foreign spots to fill, so we probably shouldn't sign him. But Minami, with that injury to Suzuki, which unfortunately is going to keep him out for a fair while yet, 12 days to 4 weeks, and the early schedule in the J-League is quite brutal. We've got lots of midweek games for the first couple of months, so it could be quite tough for us if we pick up more injuries in this early part of the season. But Suzuki first choice left back, but Minami will be starting early games seeing as he is injured. Defensive midfielder Ahashi first choice, Tanaka, who we originally brought in as a box-to-box midfield starter. He's back there because of the signing of Dimas, who's first choice there with Abe being the backup, and Gustavo, one of those young Brazilians that we did sign, he's there as an extra option as a third choice. Right wing Gonzalez, obviously the first choice, but nice promising player behind him now in Yamada, who is a local central attacking midfielder. Lots of change here. Janino first choice, one of our foreigners, and Okai as the backup. And the next two positions are the ones where nothing happened, because Angelotti still first choice, Yamazaki second, and we've got Murano in our under-18s. And up front, we've got Nakano first choice. Asawa comes up, seeing as we did let go of Kojima on a free, and Wun Sushai, who our under-18s manager picked up on a free, would be the third choice. So it looks like we've strengthened our squad quite a bit going to our first season here, and also brought in quite a few young options going into this transfer window. Also a quick look just to remind you of the players that we did let go of. There they are here. It was actually Yajima, the big player we let go of, that striker who should have been second choice, but KloppBot said we didn't need him, so he now is at another club, while we have promoted Ozawa to second choice. But I think that will do it for today's episode, all the transfers, and also bring you guys through what this save is going to be about here with the Red Bull Football Group and how the KloppBot is going to oversee it. If you enjoyed this one, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you're looking forward to the series, also make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well so you don't miss out on when new episodes did drop. As I said earlier, should be every weekday unless there's public holidays or anything like that. We'll come back tomorrow and get stuck in to our first couple of games of the season. First up, take on a team that we really should be beating. I think they're predicted to finish 16th in Zwigan Kanazawa, but then we'll also take on Makita Zalvia, who in real life are up inside the top 5 of the J1 leagues. Not too sure how they've ended up down here, but that could be pretty tough. Might be a bit of a win and a loss coming up in tomorrow's episode, but we'll see how this new look Omiya Ardija side does get on in our first couple of games in charge with those tactics that the KloppBot did come up with earlier on in today's episode. So until then, thank you very much for watching, keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.